So I'm back with another log something or other of about meditation. It's a good meditation. Good meditation. I mean, it's meditation, isn't it? Like, I've really realised that if you're not enjoying your meditation, what are you doing? I mean, of course, like, it's gonna be fucking hard. Like, of course, you're not always gonna be in the right. You're not. Of course, like, it's not always gonna be like peaceful and easy. There are gonna be difficult moments. You're gonna have like pain in the body, and you're gonna have pain in the mind. But at the same time, you're going inwards. And so whether you got positive shit going on in your head or you got negative shit going on in your head, enjoy it. You're going inwards and you are observing what's going on in your mind. And like, it's something that you should be keen on doing. I mean, I'm never keen when I sit down. I'm like, fuck me, like half an hour of meditation. This is gonna be excruciating. But of course, that subsides fairly quickly. So yeah, at the moment I'm doing 28 minutes meditation. Tomorrow will be 29 minutes, and I think it's getting to the point where it's like, I don't know if I could do much more. Like, I think 30 minutes is probably like my sweet spot at the moment. I do want to get up to an hour, but I don't know. I think I might stick with 30 minutes for a while and then slowly work my way up to an hour later on. But yeah. So I start off with just observing sounds, probably for like a minute, and then I do a body scan, top of the head downwards, probably for like 2-3 minutes. And then I focus on my breath as a whole, the rhythm of it, whether it's shallow or deep, whether it's long or short. And then I go more focused, and I focus on the sensation in the nostrils. And yeah, like, you can get really concentrated with that. Like, the best way to concentrate on that is to concentrate on either the start of every in-breath and the start of every out-breath, or the end of every in-breath and the end of every out-breath. I think that's probably better, because then you watch when the ending is, so you kind of you start at the start, waiting for the end. So you go. So you're watching the whole breath until it gets to the end. You really want to concentrate in on what it feels like to end that breath. And you can get really fucking concentrated there. But then, yeah, it's really quite hard to stay concentrated there. Like, your mind wants to fucking do shit. I'm still a bit, like, I don't know what I'm doing with my technique. Like, sometimes I get bored of doing that, watching that breath. And then I watch it more of like a whole thing, or watch my belly rise and fall. Or then I'll focus in on like a body sensation, like a fucking pain in my neck or on my foot, or focus in on that. And then sometimes I'll just sit. I'll just be like, I'm just gonna sit. And what that is focusing on this whole sensory organ which is your body. So you'd focus on your whole body as one thing. So pain in your neck, pain in your foot, fucking tingling sensation in your hand, and fucking the temperature of your abdomen, whatever it is, you focus your whole attention on your whole body, like the sensations of it, and you include the breathing, the movement of breath, and then you include what you're hearing, then you include what you're seeing, the colours and shapes, what you're smelling, what you're tasting. Smelling and tasting are hard ones that I haven't really explored that much. So yeah, this is a good thing to do, is to just sit, is to literally do nothing. But it's not just a doing nothing where people think it's like, oh, you're doing nothing. Like, people think they do nothing, but actually what they think of doing nothing is actually just like imagining shit. They're in daydream. People think that doing nothing is like daydreaming, but doing nothing is actually being aware of nothing. And so doing nothing and daydreaming, you're aware that you're daydreaming. I mean, you may not be aware that you're daydreaming, but you are daydreaming, you know what I mean? So doing nothing, like just sitting, you just observe your sensory experience, the feelings in your body, your sight, your hearing, smells, taste, and even like the thoughts and emotional tone. But at the same time, you don't really like you can observe them, but you don't really, like, they come on their own accord. But like the way that I see it, and maybe I'm looking at this wrong, but the way that I see it is that any thought that you have is based in past and future, so you're not actually in the moment. And this is what sitting down, doing nothing is about being aware of your sensory experience in the moment. And there's not really a whole lot of thought about that. Like, you can have thought like, oh, there's a pain in my neck, or oh, like it's a bit chilly on my foot, or there's a vibration in my foot. You can have thoughts like that which are pretty like in the present moment, but they go really quickly. It's just like, oh, pain in my neck, like instantly comes, goes, you know? But there are other thoughts where you can like have a whole story about it, like kind of like visualizing, like daydreaming this like conversation. And that's the kind of thought that is like in time, in past and future, based on your identity. And so, yeah. So thoughts aren't really a thing that you need to focus on. Anyway, so yeah, usually I watch my breath go in my nostrils, out my nostrils, like really focused and concentrated. And then yeah, I'll like switch between noticing sensations on my body, switch between noticing the breath as a whole, like the movement of it, and then I'll go like, I'm just sitting down in the moment, just doing nothing except like the activity of sitting in the moment. And yeah, and then I'll kind of switch between all those, and I'll come back to my breath, like really concentrated in the nostril, when I think I've got lost in daydream, when I think I've got lost in visualization and imagining. You can really see that the reason why we suffer is because we have an idea, a vision of how reality should be. or not even should be, but the way we want it to be. And if it doesn't go the way we want, we suffer. You know what I mean? Like, we have a way that we want things to go. Like, I'll give you a little personal thing here. When I was meditating, I had this like imagination, like in thought, of like conversation I would have with my sister in the future. And I did this whole like, just this whole like play in my head of her asking me like, oh, do you meditate? And me going, yes. And her asking how long, and me going like, oh, like 30 minutes twice a day. And her going like, oh fuck man, that's a lot, or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, and like feeling that sense of like pride, like, yeah, I'm meditating. Yeah, I meditate for an hour a day. Yeah, I'm hard as fuck. Yeah, I'm spiritual as fuck. You know what I mean? Like, this whole play in our head, like, of how we want things to go. You know what I mean? And that's why we suffer. We suffer for two reasons, I think. We suffer because we 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 suffer because we're trying to have an identity. We're trying to latch on to something that will make us feel like good about ourselves. Like the example I just gave you was like me going like, oh yeah, I identify as this meditator, this spiritual person that is, that is going inwards, and I'm like, and I can make an identity out of that and be like, oh yeah, I'm like this, I can feel good about that identity. And so that's one reason why we suffer, because of course, like, that's just not true. Like, it's made up. The other reason why we suffer is because we we have a vision of how we want things to go, and if they don't go that way, that's why we suffer. Desire. If we don't get what we want, we suffer. So yeah. Meditation's fucking good, like, good shit, man. Good shit. Like, I came out of that meditation just feeling like just so present and like happy. Just like, just peaceful. Just nice. Because I mean, like, how many of us sit at home with no threat to our being, with no need to be in fight or flight, yet we do? How many of us are just sitting at home and not doing much, yet we're not relaxed? We're constantly like thinking about negative shit that isn't even happening. Like, it's that's kind of fucked, like other animals in nature, they'll be like in their home space, whatever, wherever they are, just all relaxed and shit, just like enjoying it. And then of course, like, if they go out and then see a predator, they're in like fight or flight, they've got the adrenaline, they've got to fucking go, they've got to fucking get out of there, or they've got to fucking fight. But then, like, after that, it's like, oh shit, but then eventually they go back to their homeland or whatever, and they're relaxed again because they're not in that fight anymore. But with us fucking humans, with our capacity to remember so much shit and make a whole identity about it, it's like we go out into the world and like someone pushes our buttons, our triggers, and we go into fight and flight mode. It's like, oh fuck. But then we come home and that shit doesn't wear off. It's not like, oh, I'm home, I'm relaxed. We constantly think about that shit, which is constantly re-triggering that emotional fucking trauma that we just faced. And that's what's happening with most of us, is that a lot of us are just at home doing nothing, yet we're stressing. But there's no threat, there's no danger around. It's like, it's really fucking peaceful. So yeah. And I guess people think like, well, I've got to prepare for it to happen again. I've got to think about this constantly, so when it happens again, I'll be prepared. But does that ever work? Because in my experience, it doesn't. It makes things worse. If you just be in the moment, always, you'll be fine. It doesn't help to think about a future event to try and protect yourself. I mean, you can think about it logically. Like, if you're trying to protect yourself from something, then you can think about it logically, like, what can I do to protect myself? Oh, maybe I can, like, do whatever. But if you're thinking about it and you're getting emotionally charged and going, fuck, like it's actually happening now, then that's not the way to do it. I mean, like, yeah, think about logically how you can prevent something or do something, but don't, like, if you understand what I mean. So I got a book tonight from Kmart. Stillness Speaks by Eckhart Tolle. I've read The Power of Now. It's good to flick through that. You just like read bits, but this one is like especially for that, I would think, because you can just like flip to any page and it has like a whole bunch of just like little passages. So let me flick to one and read you one, and let me see what that's about. Feel the aliveness within your body. That anchors you in the now. I can feel the aliveness in my body. What's interesting is that you can get very deep in the now. The now seems to have like levels. Because you can get to a level where you are in the moment where it's a fucking astounding and miraculous that existence is. That you're just experiencing. That experience is fucking here. And it's like, what the fuck? And there are no fucking words to explain that. Like, you can talk about being present, and you can think you're being present. You can be like, yeah, I'm present, I'm like watching my breath, I'm feeling my body, I'm aware of my senses. But like, you can get to a point where it's like fucking, like, you'll know, like, you'll realize how fucking miraculous and astounding it is to be alive, to exist, to experience. And you can realize that as a concept and go, yeah, it is miraculous that I exist. But if it's not a felt thing in your whole body and like your whole consciousness, and it's just like this big like fucking you can't even explain it though, man. Like it's literally in the face of a miracle. Like imagine if you just saw a miracle in front of your eyes. Imagine if you just saw a pig grow wings and fly. Like that's a miracle, right? If you like, this is what this is like. Is that existence is a miracle? It's like fucking wow, man. And of course, it's funny because it's always here. Like existence is always here. You're always here. I'm here talking about this miraculous thing that is existence, but it's like it's right here, but I can't notice it. I mean, I do know. I mean, I notice colours and shapes and sounds and feelings in my body, but I'm not noticing how fucking miraculous it is for there to even be anything. But anyway, let's read another one, shall we? Ultimately, you are not taking responsibility for life until you take responsibility for this moment now. This is because now is the only place where life can be found. Taking responsibility for this moment means not to... That's too much there, and that's threatening my ego, talking about responsibility. But anyway, yeah. Another book I got not too long ago is this, The Wim Hof Method. I've read a few pages so far. I think I'll read a bit more tonight. But yeah, I've been doing that. I've been doing the breathing and the cold bath, which has been really nice. But yeah, I'm keen to get more into that book. Anyway. Adios, amigos.